Hi, my name is Nicole. Today I'm going to be working on what I call the usual, which is the neck and the shoulders, the area that a lot of people tend to hold their tension. Today I will be working on the lovely Ashley. Let's get started. If you're not able to watch this video with me right now, please save it to your watch later playlist and tune back in. Whenever I want to work on someone's neck and shoulders, I usually tend to actually start with them face up, because oftentimes our pec minor and our pec major will play a large role in the reason why we have pain in our backside. I always like to start with nice gentle touch, especially whenever I'm going to be working in the pectoral area. It can be a very sensitive space where people can hold some trauma. And I like to start with some myofascial work. So I'm just going to add some tension, pulling with both hands, but making sure that I'm not sliding across the skin. And I haven't used any lubricant yet. I'm going to be doing all of this fascia work without lubricant. And I'm kind of waiting until I feel the skin give a little bit. And if you don't quite have that finesse of touch, you can wait at least 30 seconds. It's always important to try to loosen up the fascia before we go any deeper into the tissues. And if you don't know what fascia is, we can think about a chicken breast. So even if you buy your chicken breast skinless, there's always that kind of white film around the muscle tissue, and that's fascia. And our fascia will go around each individual muscle. It'll also encase the muscle groups. And in opposition, it goes all the way down to the cellular level, and fascia will encompass each individual muscle spindle. I like to work bilaterally doing this because once I have oil on my hands, it's nearly impossible to do this kind of fascia work. Oftentimes, this is a moment when clients will be like, oh, you can work deeper, and then I like to educate them on what I'm doing and let them know that I'm trying to loosen up their fascia so that their muscles will be able to accept deeper pressure a little bit more. So now that I've worked on the fascia of the pecs, I'm going to do a little bit of the anterior neck here. I'm just going to move Ashley's head to the side and tilt it a little bit. When I support the head, if you notice this hand here, I have my fingers wrapped around the ears. I don't want to smush the ears. That does not feel so good. Now for this fascia work, I'm just using one hand, and I'm going to be moving in a downward direction here. There's a little bit of less space in the neck area, so my fascia work is going to be within a few inches. I want to get the SCM here, so I'm kind of going to come down near the clavicle. Then I'll switch to the other side. I always pause in the middle of switching sides just in case someone gets vertigo. We don't want to move their head too quickly. And again, pulling that fascia downwards. Making sure that I'm not putting pressure too much onto the bony eminences. And if you can't find someone's SCM, we can always ask them, hey Ashley, can you lift your head up a little bit for me? Wonderful, now relax. You can see that SCM there. We can pick a spot halfway down and just be very gentle with your pressure. Whenever we're doing fascia work, we're not trying to go deep, and especially on the neck area. We don't want to create a choking sensation on someone. Then again at the clavicle, where our SCM attaches. put her head back into center. All right, now it's time for our lubricant. I personally prefer oil, but of course you can use whatever works best for you. Again, before I touch the pecs, just come in gently on the shoulders so the client knows where I am. And I'm going to do a nice effleurage, bring it around the deltoids, and then up the upper trapezius. Get some oil on the trapezius. And now I'm moving along the upper trapezius, which is the back of the neck, so you can't really see. And then once I reach the occiput, I'm going to kind of hook my fingers in a little bit like this. Give a little bit of tension there. I'll probably do this 3 or 4 times just to make sure that I have enough lubricant. And it helps to ease the client in. And I might put a little bit extra oil on the neck. Starting with the pecs, I like to make big circles. I'm using about medium depth and pressure here. I don't want to go in too deep to begin with. I'm just trying to warm the tissue up. I'm aiming to warm the pec major. And through the pec major, of course, we can reach the pec minor, so we really want to make sure that pec major is nice and warm. Remember that pec major connects onto the humerus, so I'm going to work through that anterior deltoid a little bit as well. Once I feel like that's pretty warm, then I'm going to make smaller circles. So before I was kind of gliding on top of the skin. Now I want to go through the skin and feel into the muscle tissue, and I'm going to make smaller circles where I feel areas of tension. Working my way around the pec major. And onto the humerus. Sometimes I might feel a lot of tension and I'll want to just press in and hold. Especially where there's areas of a lot of tension, it can feel a lot more intense to do the small circles. So if I kind of try to melt it away, that tends to work a little bit better. Now, since our pec minor kind of comes down like this, I'm going to do a little bit of stripping, starting kind of in that nook between our bones here, between the clavicle and the humerus. And I'm just going to go very slowly. And I might check in with Ashley. How was that pressure? Awesome. We'll do another one. This time I'm angling towards the opposite hip. And once more, I'm kind of going to aim towards the armpit. Next, I'm going to work on this upper trap here. Kind of kneading with my fingers under the body, my thumbs above. And I like to do a nice little effleurage up the back of the neck to hold onto the head. I'm going to rotate. Then I'm going to begin a nice big effleurage going below the collarbone, around the deltoids, up the upper trapezius, all the way to that occiput. And again, down the SCM, around the clavicle and the deltoids, back up across the trapezius. Then I'm going to do my big circles that are gliding on top of the skin. So these are not very deep. And then when I get to the posterior portion of the neck, I do push in a little bit deeper because that tends to feel really good. One more time, I'll make my more superficial circles. And then I'm gonna go just a little bit deeper, making sure that I'm staying on the SCM. Again, if you can't find the SCM, have your client hold up their head. This time I'm going above the clavicle, making a smaller triangle, and coming up the upper trapezius. And I found a spot in the back of the neck, so I might just hold and melt here for a little while. We can watch the client's breath. If they take a really big breath, that's a good release, and then we know that our melting is done. Or maybe we will feel a change in the texture of the tissue. And then we can move on. I'm going to move a little further up. All the way into that occiput. And I might just do another effleurage to tie all of that work in. Now usually I would do the other side, but we do have a limited amount of time today, so I'll go ahead and let you just figure that out for yourself. Now I'm going to do some bilateral work. So those circles we were making, I'm now going to make it on the posterior part of the body, so I'm going to start at the upper trapezius. And I'm just going to make these little circles all the way up the back of the neck. Again, once I reach the occiput, I'm going to give a little bit of pressure there. And then I can slide my hands pizza style under the client's body so that I can get a part of the middle and lower trapezius. And then again, I'm going to make these little circles coming upwards. The trapezius tends to give us a lot of discomfort. It's a very broad muscle and it has to do a lot of work, so we want to make sure we try to cover all of it. Let me do that one more time. If you didn't get enough oil on, this might be a little difficult, so you might need to get yourself a little bit more before you put your hands under the client's body. Give a little tug at the occiput. And again with an effleurage around the entire area that we've been working on. A lot of times when people have neck and shoulder discomfort, it can either come up to the jaw or it can even come from the jaw. So what I like to do, wiping my hands off, of course, I don't want to get too much oil in my client's hair. I'm going to put my fingers around the ears like this, and I'm going to put a little pressure, and I'm going to make more circles. The fascia of our ears connect into our neck and into our jaw and our temples, so this can be a really good way to introduce movement into those areas. And then I kind of move my fingers up into the temple area and I make more circles here. That temporal bone is a pretty big space, so I kind of go around with my 3 fingers and make circles all the way around the entire area. Sometimes you want to check in with your clients at this point. Some people's temples can be really sensitive. And then from here, I want to move down into the masseters, into that jaw area where people tend to have a lot of tension. I'm making circles and I'm slowly moving my way down towards that lower jaw line. think it can feel nice. Get my little pinchers here. Come along the jaw. And then I kind of come in and I hook my thumbs, because our masseters, we have one on the outside and one on the inside, right? So if I hook my thumbs in like this, I can kind of reach that interior masseter a little bit. And I'm going to work my way backwards. Now I'm going to work my way up the jaw, towards the temples. Then again, the ears. Don't underestimate how good it feels to massage ears. All right, and then one more time. I'm going to do an effleurage. Bring my hands all the way up to the occiput, and this time I'm kind of just going to hold the head here. It's nice. We spend all day holding our heads up for ourselves. It can feel really good to have someone else do it for us. And I hold it for a few breaths. Disengage and thank my client. Thank you very much, Ashley.
Thank you. Man, massaging the ears really is nice.
Right? Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check out the next video in the series. If you enjoyed practicing with me today, please check out our Patreon, where you can find exclusive videos. See you soon.